Hello and welcome to another Photoshop tutorial from Catisfaction's Glass Gallery. Recently, Ruby Lane informed us of the switch to square images on their site. I'd like to share with you an easy way to create photos that are an exact square. I use this tool here, which is called the crop tool, and I'm sure you can find a similar tool on free programs such as GIMP. This tool allows us to select the size we'd like the width and the height of our image to be. And by placing the same numbers in these parameters, we can then click and drag on the image and we will create an exact square as we do so. You can move the square from side to side before you crop or up and down too, in case it's not quite aligned with your image. And then just click enter on your keyboard and you'll end up with an exact square. Now sometimes the items you have to photograph aren't going to fit nicely in a square like that. So you have to get a little, jazzy with your camera. And maybe try something like this where the item is laid at an angle. 45 degrees works very well for squares. And then we can just select that and click enter and we have our squared image. Another advantage to using this tool to crop an image rather than using the rectangular marquee, which is the one I usually use, is that with the crop tool you're less likely to get pixelization to your image as it resizes it at the same time. Now sometimes you might have an item that ends up being, long and not very tall, and it's rather difficult with this to try and get your square image. You run out of top and bottom before you've got all of the side to side in. So in this kind of case I would attempt to stack the item if you can in some kind of neat configuration like I've done here. And this way you can still get that square in and show everything you have in the item. In this case I used an acrylic stand in the back, so you can see this glass in the back is standing higher than the others. Sometimes you have a tall item like this that perhaps you'll just have to bite the bullet and go with a rather large space on the sides. If it's something that's interesting, sometimes you can kind of go smaller and maybe do a close-up, but with things like this vase that obviously wouldn't work. It works better with jewelry and items with high details. And lastly, I'd like to show you what I do here. Oh, I can't do that, it goes off the screen. Sometimes an item is so big that there's just absolutely no way that you can get it in that square. In cases like this, you have to make the square a little bit larger, and you'll end up with some of the excess on the top and bottom here where you don't have the image. So you end up with a white background, but this is easily remedied. You can come down here to the pipette tool, and this, or eyedropper tool as it calls it, and this, if you click on a color on the image, it will set your foreground color to that color. So if I click on the white here, see, it sets it to the white. If I click it on the black, it sets it to the black. This then sets the paintbrush up to be exactly the same color as your background, and you can go ahead and paint that excess space at the top and at the bottom, but don't forget to choose your color again because it can be different from top to bottom. And then you can paint both of those, and there you have your perfectly squared image. And if you like to do borders like I showed before, you can then just come back to that marquee tool and feathered, and this is what I do to finish off all my images. I then just come around here and then I select inverse and I cut so I have that border, but I still have that perfectly square shape, just right for Ruby Lane. Thank you very much for watching.